surprising man on the pole for tonight's race. Joe Manning from Alabama finds himself up on the pole following the draw.
Now this is round number 7 for the Hooters Cup cars. They have had some outstanding races. If you have not seen this series so far this year, you are in for a treat. These guys will rub fenders because they have them. And that's one of the beauties of late model racing all over the Southeast. First prize tonight is $5,000, $3,000 for second. The rest of the payout through the top 5, every driver in the field will get some money before he leaves. They're racing for a $25,000 championship purse for the national champion at the end of the year. And right now that honor goes to Mike Garvey, who has a sizable lead over Daniel Keene in second, Daryl Shellnut is third, Mario Gosselin fourth, and Dick Anderson is fifth. The field will have about 5 laps to warm up. We'll be back to set the field and turn them loose right after this. Stay with us from Georgia. More fun here at Lanier Raceway. We've already had one excellent race, an action-packed affair. We expect this one to be the same way. On the front row, based on the field draw, Joe Manning and John Crow. On the second row, series points leader Mike Garvey and local hot shoe Mike Love.
Going to row number 3. This is a very tight field of competitors here. Daniel Keene along with Russell Bearden. Row 4, Buckshot Jones and Craig Willer, the brother to the driver that won last week in the All-Pro Series.
Gary Jones and Daryl Shellnut will start on row 5. Sammy Pegram and Brad Sorensen make up the 6th row.
Row 7, Brad Correll along with Bobby Gill. Row 8 sees Larry Raines and Vince Whitmire, another local.
Row number 9, it's Steve Christian and David Smith. On the 10th row will be Greg McCoy and Mario Gosselin.
Moving back to row 11, Mike Harmon, the winner at Birmingham, along with Randy Holt. Row 12, Ronnie Sanders and Jerry Aubrey.
Row 13 and 14, these drivers had to run the last chance race. About any place else, they'd be a contender for the title right after qualifying. But last chance qualifiers, Jimmy Cope and Dick Anderson, row 13, Steve Allison and Tony Walls, row 14.
The provisionals and promoters' options go to Jeff Burkett and Randy Fox and Lonnie Vaughn, who crashed during that last chance qualifier, drew the last starting position on the field here for the Hooters Naturally Fresh Classic 100.
And Vaughn is out on the track. The damage was mostly cosmetic to his 0-3 entry, so he will indeed be starting this race. A full field of cars. This is some of the more exciting competition you'll see on any short track across the country, whether it's the Hooters Formula Cup Series or other late models. But this one, because of the purse that's paid out and some of the tracks they go to, attracts some of the very finest late model drivers in the Southeast. The field is formed up nicely. Starter Tony Boswell has the green flag in hand. He waves it, and we are underway in round number 7. As a little contact right from the start between our front row starters. And a big crash in turn 1 involving a number of cars.
2 different crashes, Mark. As a matter of fact, the cars we're seeing collected up against the outside retaining wall. David Smith in the 30 car happens to be one of those, along with the 24 of Brad Correll.
And the 23 is Brad Sorensen.
And 2 other cars that got collected up a little further along the racetrack, one of those being Bobby Gill, probably most frustrated driver in competition this year in the Hooters Series.
It's incredible. Bobby Gill has spent a lot of time against the turn 2 wall at racetracks in this series. Hard to believe, but he is shoved up in the fence. The damage is significant, and there is every chance that he will park it for the night. The 18S is Ronnie Sanders, and just like our first race of the evening, we cannot get through the first lap without an incident, which means we will have a full restart, double file.
Let's speak a little bit about Bobby Gill here and the frustration that he has had so far this season. I asked him earlier today, I said, this was a brand new car that you brought to Bradenton, Florida earlier this season. He said, that's right. I said, how many front and rear clips have you put on this car? He said, I have put 4 rear clips on the car and 3 front clips on a brand new race car that's less than 3 months old.
And some of those have come outside the Hooters Cup competition, but he's been keeping the body man real busy at his shop. And what a tough break for Gill, who came into this event 6th in the series points. That will obviously be in severe jeopardy tonight, as John Crow, the outside front row starter, was only 2 points behind him. Ronnie Sanders, a tough break for him as well, coming off his best finish of the series in Orlando, Florida, a third a couple of weeks ago. It's going to take the safety crews a few seconds to clear it up, so we'll take a break and be right back. Big mess right in turn one, equally big mess up there in turn two. Bobby Gill done for the night. Ronnie Sanders probably also done. There are several cars still stuffed against the fence in turn number one. It happened on the first lap, the first corner. And that means that we're going to be a little while longer before we go back to green. And we really should give a call, Bill, to the man who set fast time here. A bit of a surprise, I think, to some of the touring regulars. Russell Bearden in the 15X car. That picked him up some extra bonus points, although he is not a regular runner in the series. But Bearden really showed everybody that, hey, I know how to get around a racetrack in a big hurry. There he is, the red number 15. We'll keep an eye on him because Alan May was the quick qualifier in the first race and did go on to victory.
He sure was. Let's talk about the local drivers just for a moment here.
Now, that's Jimmy Cope. Now, he's Jimmy a fellow who isn't running real well. He had to go through the last chance qualifier, and he hasn't had a whole lot of luck lately.
And Nevin Jenkins almost ran into the wrecker when it pulled down in front of him on the edge of the camera. But the local drivers came out in force to race against the Hooters Cup regulars coming to their home track. A lot of times the regular local drivers will shy away. Instead, they came out here and wanted to mix it up with the all-star competitors that came to town.
And several times this year, we've seen the local hot shoes do very well. In fact, Mike Harmon won at Birmingham. He's a past track champion there. Came all the way from the rear of the field to taste victory.
Harmon's here tonight with us.
Yes, he is, and he qualified for tonight's race. Only the second event he's run of the series. He won't be a regular competitor with us throughout the rest of the year, but he just couldn't pass up the opportunity to race here. But we also saw some of the local drivers do very well in Kenly, North Carolina. And frankly, we expect them to do well tonight because they have the Lanier Challenge series here for late model drivers.
Let's talk a little bit about why that is. The cars are pretty universal in concept. There's several different motor combinations you can run, but primarily the cars are tubular chassis automobiles weighing in at either 2,900 to 2,800 pounds. They can run a 312 to 331 cubic inch V8, weigh 2,900 pounds. They can run a 332 to 358, carry another additional 100 pounds and weigh 3,000. Or you can run a 9-to-1 compression V8 engine, 358 cubic inches, and run 2,800 pounds. And 58% left side weight. So for anybody who follows short track racing, you realize that almost any late model sportsman type of series car can run in the Hooters Cup, that most of them will meet the criteria of the rules. They run with a 390 4-barrel carburetor, and it has produced some of the most exciting racing I have seen in the last several years. Saturday night has always been a great night to see these cars run.
Ronnie Sanders' car will go to the pits. That's about $2,500 worth of damage from lap 0. And if you're wondering, Naturally Fresh, what is it? Is that some sort of environmental product? No, it isn't. It is a salad dressing produced by the same people who produce the Hooters Jackaroo barbecue sauce. And it's another one of those products where if your local grocer does not carry it, please go ask him for some Naturally Fresh. Try it on salads or as a dip. And once again, it's one of those products that Bill and I have tried. We enjoy it. That's why we can heartily endorse it, even though we're not being paid to say that.
Raspberry vinaigrette. That's what you want. It's really good along with the ranch dressings. You'll find it right there in the produce section. As a matter of fact, it'll be cool and fresh when you go in there and find it. And believe you me, all you need to do is find yourself some fresh vegetables and you can have yourself a great salad.
Papa seed. That's the one I like. We've lost 5 competitors from that first multi-car, multi-wreck incident up there in turns 1 and 2, and we're getting ready to go back to green in just a couple of moments. The safety car has picked up speed moving through turn 4, and the field has reformed, minus a few cars. The front 2 cars slammed doors in turn 1, and that helped get everything going there a moment ago. Green flag is back out, and we are trying to start for the second time, and this time Manning gets a nice jump. There'll be no fender rubbing between the front 2.
John Crow is on the charge. Bounces off the side of Joe Manning coming off the second quarter, but he's at the bottom of the racetrack.
And John Crow, the man who won the Lanier race here back in May, has taken the lead on lap number 1. Joe Manning sits in second. The blue, white, and green 91 is Mike Garvey, third. Mike Love is fourth, and Daniel Keene is fifth. John Crow is a rookie in late model competition, but certainly hasn't been driving like it as Mike Garvey moves into the runner-up spot. And now coming along with him is Mike Love, as Joe Manning is clearly having some handling problems.
Mike Love now up to third place. Now, do you know where Mike Love lives? He lives right outside of turn number 1. He says, I step out of my back door and I race at my favorite racetrack on Saturday night. He says, I can win here tonight. I don't care who these guys are. Keep your eye on the 25 car, the Chevy Monte Carlo.
And that red 29 of Craig Willard. I talked with Craig before the race, who also runs here a lot, and I asked him, I said, what's the quick way around this track? He said, tie a string to Mike Love's bumper and go with him.
Mike Love has been racing this racetrack since it was dirt, which wasn't that long ago because the track is only 15 years old. He's the son-in-law to Bud Lunsford, who originally built this facility.
John Crow, a rookie in only his 7th late model race ever. He comes to this series after some competition and success in the Legends Series at Charlotte, North Carolina. Mike Garvey, a veteran campaigner of late model cars and also the series points leader. He is the only man in 1995 to have gone to victory lane twice in Hooters Cup competition. So youth against experience. This will be an entertaining battle to watch to see who gets the upper hand. And then you've got that local knowledge in Mike Love back there in third.
Crow won the last race run here at Lanier Raceway. He told me earlier, he said, we're not running that good. I said, why do you say that? He goes, well, because we're second fastest at that time. Then later he was third quickest. But he is dispelling that now as he is the leader.
Darrell Shelnut is in 10th position. Randy Holt 11th. Shelnut trying to bounce back from a crash with Mario Goslin at the last race, but took him out just past halfway of one 200-lap show that we've run so far this season. Dropped him back to third in the series points, but he still very much entertains thoughts of catching Mike Garvey for the championship in the Hooters Cup Series. As speaking of Garvey, he is all over Mr. Crow. And that's the 15 of Russell Bearden working through some traffic. Right behind him, Gary Jones, and then a double aught of Buckshot Jones.
Gary Jones is having a good run here tonight. He's got the 6 car in the win as he's pulling to the inside of the 15. Of course,
and Crow continues to set the pace as Russell Bearden, our fast qualifier, is trying to work toward the front. He sits back there in the 5th position. This is a battle for 5th on the speedway. Gary Jones, having one of his best runs of the season, tries the high side. We've seen some passing up there. Let's see if it can work again.
He's working on him hard now. Gets out in front, getting into the corner, but he's going to have to cover down very quickly.
And it looks like he's got enough clearance to do it. Gary Jones takes over the 5th position. And Bearden will now be watching Buckshot Jones fill his mirror. Jones has one of the most beautiful transporters in all of late model racing. Got Longhorn Steakhouse on the side of it, a beautiful paint job, and back up front, John Crow is trying to keep the white paint of Mike Garvey off his entry. Crow, who was not happy with his original practice laps here, chased the car, he said, all the way until the final session, then got it together and posted an excellent lap, third fastest on the field, and then through the outside front row and has put it to good use.
How competitive is the field? We've run 16 laps, and we haven't lapped any cars whatsoever. This field was less than a second and a half from start to finish. Look at Crow. Crow is running the classic line around this racetrack, really making Mike Garvey work for everything he's going to get as he moves high on the racetrack and down the front straightaway.
Mike Garvey has brought a brand new car for tonight's race. You would think if we've got a spin coming off of turn number 4 that has brought out the caution for the 2nd time. And that's Jerry Aubrey and the 12 of Steve Christian, I believe. There are several 12s in the field, and we'll get a clarification on that in just a second here, but they just a little light contact sent them around out of the racing groove. No major harm there, and that does appear to indeed to be Steve Christian. So caution on the speedway for the 2nd time on lap number 19 here at the Lanier Raceway.
Field lining up behind the pace car, and Christian getting refired and rejoining the field along with Aubrey. So the second caution, the first one coming on the opening lap of the contest where we did not run a single lap, and then the second one coming on lap 19.
Steve Christian currently sits 9th in the Hooters Cup points. Let's make that 8th. About 115 points behind Mike Garvey, but we're still in the early stages of the race season, and a lot of things can happen. Mike Garvey really hasn't experienced very much bad luck at all, as Daniel Keene has come to the pits. His hood is off, and if that is not Daniel Keene, why we understand from race scoring. We'll get a clarification in just a moment on who that is. And from what we can tell, that is in...
Well, the driver in the pits is Daniel Keene. Randy Fox had also been in the pits earlier, and he took the hood off the car, the Keene car, which had been running there among the front runners, and now they put the hood back on as the field is still under tow of the pace car.
And that is indeed the 5 of Daniel Keene. There are a number of duplicate numbers, if you'll pardon the redundancy there. And it's difficult for us sometimes from certain angles to tell which one of those cars it is. But Daniel Keene, an early casualty, the man number 2 in the series points, appears to be out of tonight's competition after just 21 laps.
While Daniel is still sitting in his car and you're still working on it, I think he would like to get back out there and salvage some points, as most drivers do, because the points payoff at the end of the year is worth so much money.
And bragging rights, too. There are big plans for the Hooters Cup Series in 1996. Those are just being formulated now. And a number of drivers are excited about the possibilities for this series that has attracted many of the very fine drivers from around the country.
David Smith.
To take their chances here. And David Smith is back on the speedway a lap down after that lap 1 incident that necessitated a full restart. The field is formed back up. The safety car is off the speedway, and John Crow will bring them back to green on lap 23.
Crow in a car built by Roger Hankey, the notorious car builder from Concord, North Carolina, has that car right in front of Mike Garvey now as they move off the 4th quarter.
And we can say that this is going to be a battle that's going to last a long time. Both of these cars are handling quite well, although Crow is taking a slightly different line than Garvey. Garvey, again, bringing a brand new car to this race. We talked to him before the event, and we said, why? You're on a roll. He said, hey, I got to try it sometime. Why not tonight? And neither Bill nor I could come up with a good reason not to.
There's something about a brand new car. It's kind of like a brand new suit. It gives you a lot of confidence. And that's what he's got right now.
And he's wearing a new paint job for the second race. It was real good to him back at Orlando, Florida, where he went on to win the event. The 10 car is Mario Goslin, the 37 Larry Raines. Goslin, a surprisingly poor qualifying effort. Most of the season he's been in the top 10, but he was way back there starting tonight's event in the 20th position and trying to work his way forward as he has gotten underneath. And a little contact there. And a nice save by Raines, and great reactions by a pair of 21s right behind. 92 car Dick Anderson, one of the strong runners in the series, just in front of them. Anderson has already moved up nicely through the field after having to come through the last chance race to even get into this show.
Randy Holt on the inside coming up behind the Larry Raines car, moving off the 4th quarter now. And right behind them is Jimmy Cope, and Cope was trying to make it 3 abreast going into the 1st quarter. That's Nevin Jenkins high on the outside in the 3, but back up front, the battle for the lead.
And we could have a possible lead change 30 laps in. Mike Garvey goes to the high side. Crow decides to stay down low. No contact, and the lead has indeed changed hands. Mike Garvey takes the point on lap number 30. The question is, will he be able to hold it for the next 70? You know John Crow wants it back in the worst way.
Garvey did it the hard way. He used the muscle of the engine to go to the high side and pass him. And now look at Mike Love. Love's trying to position himself to get into 2nd place now in the 25 car.
Mike Garvey stands to do some serious work to his points lead tonight toward the good, because the closest pursuer, Daniel Keene, is done for the night. And now Garvey is beginning to extend his margin as Mike Love, the local Lanier Raceway hot shoe, is caught up to John Crow, and that will be the battle we will watch as Gary Jones is right behind. He sits in 4th. An excellent battle is going to be side by side right now for the 2nd position.
You don't think Gary Jones was overhearing your conversation earlier with Russell Bearden, do you, where you just tie a string onto the back of the 25 car and go to the front?
Well, he's not giving him more than a few feet. It might be a tow bar. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of horsepower under that number 25. John Crow's going to have to keep his wits about him. He had no challenge as a big crash coming off of turn 4. Steve Christian, Randy Fox missed it on the high side. The bodywork has been peeled off the left side. That's the 26 car of Johnny Henderson. Another local driver brings out the caution just in front of the leaders on lap 36.
Well, 36 laps in the book. We're under yellow here at Lanier Raceway, just north of Atlanta, Georgia. And what a race we're seeing here this evening. If you have the opportunity, you need to come out and see one of these Hooters Cup races. Believe you me, you won't go away dissatisfied.
Lonnie Vaughn has come to the pits. He crashed in the last chance race. Hasn't exactly had a good day all the way around. A single-day event here at Lanier Raceway. The drivers have been here last month, so rather than running a 2-day show with practice on Friday and the event on a Saturday, they decided to bring everybody in just for the 1-day show. And Randy Fox is also coming to the pits directly behind Vaughn. Now let's set the top 5 for you as we're under yellow. Mike Garvey continues as the race leader. John Crow is second. Mike Love third. Gary Jones is fourth. Our pole sitter, Joe Manning, fifth. Darrell Shellnut, sixth. Buckshot Jones, seventh. Craig Willard, eighth. Mario Goslin, ninth. And Dick Anderson has moved into the 10th position. He has moved up 13 spots, 14 spots since the start, and we've only completed 38 laps. Now, some of those spots admittedly came with some of the cars that retired from that opening lap crash, but he is the only driver that has made a significant move forward through the field.
He has been advancing by everyone. He's been picking them off one at a time, but he's a very smart driver, but he has yet to have a break this year. He has yet to visit victory lane. He's come close several times, but has yet to capture a checkered flag. And he sits behind Mario Goslin right now in the 10 car. And the Dodge, the engine built by Joey Arrington, is in 10th place.
Anderson has led the fourth most laps of the season, but has yet to go to the winner's circle. Safety car back off the speedway. Mike Garvey brings the field back to green, gets a good jump. So does John Crow. And we're just 10 laps away from halfway at a $500 bonus that at the moment awaits Mike Garvey. Everybody gets through the turns nicely, single file for the moment, but it won't last that way for very long. Mario Goslin also trying to work his way forward from the 20th spot. He is the other driver that has made some very significant moves forward.
Well, Dick Anderson now riding in 8th place, so he picked up 2 on the restart.
Anderson, a wily veteran from Florida. A number of these drivers in the series as a battle for second has developed. To the high side, Mike Love. Underneath him, John Crow. Love appears to have the advantage. He's been able to go upstairs a couple of laps ago and prove his power. And he has not quite made the pass cleanly yet, but I think off turn 2 he will indeed do it. And yes, he has got second place. And Mike Garvey is not pulling away from our second place battle.
Gary Jones right in there trying to hook up onto the back bumper of the 25 car as he goes to the high side of John Crow and says, hey, look, that was a great driving lesson. Let me see if I can duplicate it.
A monkey see monkey doing a nice job of it. And Jones is about to, well, we're not going to give him third place just yet because John Crow has something to say about that. But here's a local driver, Mike Love, doing an excellent job. And Garvey is not pulling away, and that is very important. Love knows this racetrack as well as anybody else in this field. In fact, he's been here since the track was open.
Gary Jones goes to third now. Looks like he might even go for second.
Well, he hasn't got third just yet. Now, okay, I'll give him third now. And it looks like he does want second as we've got a car spinning off of turn number 4. We are just going under caution right now.
Yellow waving once again here.
And that is Wayne Niedecken. Or I'll take that back. Vince Whitmire, the 99C of Vince Whitmire, spun off of turn 4, a single car incident for our third yellow at lap 48.
2 laps shy of halfway here. Mark Garvey, the leader, followed by Mike Love. Then the Gary Jones car, followed by John Crow. And Manning is in 5th place. Then Darrell Shelnut in 6th. Buckshot Jones in 7th. The 29 car riding in 8th place.
And after an early slip back in the first couple laps by Joe Manning, he has settled down nicely and is running a very strong race. In fact, John Crow is a fellow in front of him, and Crow's going to have to start watching his mirror a little bit. Some excellent action up there in the battle for second and then the battle for third. And Bill, I'm not so sure I expected to see as much passing upstairs as we have seen.
Well, I think that what's causing the passing here is the fact that most of the drivers are running a much higher line than they normally do at this racetrack. Everybody says the bottom of the racetrack is quicker, but honestly believe the groove is a little wider than it normally is because we had so many cars practice here this afternoon. Take into consideration how many cars came to this racetrack just to try to make the show. I mean, gee, the consolation race looked to me like a regular feature on a Saturday night.
47 drivers attempted to make the field, knowing that 28 would make the show for sure. And then there were some promoters' options, but you don't want to take the chance on the promoter liking who you are that particular weekend. And it was a heck of a race that Jimmy Cope won. That's, you know, a hollow victory, but it does get him into the show. Now, the 15 car here is Russell Bearden, who has come to the pits, and right in front of him is Steve Christian, who pulls back onto the speedway. They'll rejoin the field at the tail. One of the things that's happening here as we achieve halfway of tonight's race is that with so little lapping, we've got cars back in 24th and 25th position, but they're on the lead lap.
That's what I'm impressed by, the fact that these drivers are getting around out here in 14.80 seconds. Very quick laps. We're getting ready to go back to green flag racing, and everybody revving them up and getting ready to go back to the start.
And at the head of the field is Mike Garvey, the only man to have completed every lap of Hooters Cup competition so far this season. Looks to be in a good position to complete all 100 here tonight, but you know that Mike Love, with the national television audience and Hooters restaurant fans all across the country watching this race, is hoping to get his moment of glory, and he'd like to do it right here against a fellow Georgian from Norcross, Georgia, 91, Mike Garvey. And there's Darrell Shelnut, cocked a little bit sideways, trying to get underneath Joe Manning for the 5th spot. Looks to be in a good position to do it. We haven't seen a whole lot of passing down low, but that's where Shelnut is trying it.
Shelnut at the bottom of the racetrack goes side by side, and Manning now gets clearly ahead in that position.
And Manning drove real hard into turn 1 there, trying to keep the spot, and knew real quickly that that was not the right thing to do. That car pushed up the racetrack.
But he's hanging on to the position. I thought Shelnut was going to get back beneath him, but that's not going to happen as Shelnut now draws in behind him for 6th place.
One of the recent retirees from the race, Tony Walls, who also has not had a very good weekend here. We'll look to see him back in coming events. This is the battle for 5th. Joe Manning, the 58, Darrell Shelnut, the 7. In fact, Manning is a story in himself at the race at Orlando. He had to run the last chance qualifier, came across the start-finish line and crashed, and he wasn't the only one who did it, and brought a wounded and battered race car to the grid in Orlando. And did not end up with a very good night, but he has certainly turned that around here at Lanier Raceway.
The chassis is running us from Frankie Grill. That's the guy who used to build the Neil Bonnet race cars. Alfred Moore, the engine builder for Joe Manning.
Mike Garvey has seemed to have settled into a solid groove that Mike Love either cannot do anything about or has chosen not to do anything about for the next few laps, as we are now 40 laps from the completion of tonight's race. This is a bit further back in the pack. 74 is Jeff Burkett, one of the rookie candidates. He and John Crow have been the two men who have been most consistent in going for Rookie of the Year honors. Just in front of him is Lonnie Bond. The 26 car is the Johnny Henderson car, who was involved in an incident a few laps ago. This is a battle for position on the track. The 37 underneath is Larry Raines. The 98 up high is Jody Ridley. This is a battle for 15th on the racetrack.
Right, and
Jody Ridley gets in on a promoter's option.
Yeah. Right behind him is Steve Allison. Now, Steve Allison has a famous name. He is the nephew to Bobby Allison. He is Tommy Allison's son, and he elected to race here this weekend at Lanier.
Jody Ridley, a little bit of a rough there. Nothing serious, just standard late model short track racing. But Jody Ridley has had a very difficult time in this series. He admits he is not a terrific qualifier, as the 29 car, Craig Willard, shows a lot of damage to the right front portion of that car. I'm not sure if he scuffed the wall or if an oil line erupted. I think he did hit the wall because his car is sitting down, but that will bring out the yellow once again on lap number 65. A tough break for Craig Willard, a Lanier Raceway regular. And that's our opportunity to pause for a couple of moments here to catch our breath and reset the field as we're heading toward the closing laps of the Naturally Fresh Flavor 100. Stay with us. On lap 68, and Mike Garvey continues to set a pace in quest of his third win of the year. The question is, can Mike Love, the local hot shoe, catch him and try to bring the loyal faithful to their feet here at Lanier Raceway? As the field went back to green, and they are still in this position. Mike Garvey, the leader. Mike Love, second. Gary Jones, third. John Crow, fourth. Joe Manning, fifth. Darrell Shelnut, sixth. Buckshot Jones, seventh. Dick Anderson up from 24th is in the 8th spot. Mario Goslin is 9th. And Jimmy Cope is 10th. And once again, Garvey beginning to stretch his advantage just ever so slightly as Jerry Aubrey, involved in an incident a few moments ago, still on the speedway and in some heavy traffic.
And he's behind Mike Harmon there, the 24 car, the guy that won from the back of the field at Birmingham, Alabama on his home track, as he is beside Devin Jenkins. Now there's a good tight battle. Joe Manning to the outside of Darrell Shelnut. Talk about a race. These guys are putting on one side by side.
And Shelnut is trying to go underneath to take over the 5th position. And it looks like he may not get it for a moment, but he's mighty dogged about
Gary
it.
Jones.
He's going to
right in front of him, hit his car
crack
sideways.
the throttle. In fact, both of those cars had to crack as Gary Jones had all he could handle just to keep his car aimed in the right direction. We do have caution on the front straight as a car has come around.
Aubrey.
Jerry Aubrey has spun for our caution on lap 75. That means just 25 to go. This will be a very brief caution as the 5J driver is having a long night. And several cars will come to the pits, but this night's getting longer for Mike Garvey because he's obviously hooked up and he just wants to get it to the checkered flag if he can.
Tony Boswell, the flagman, telling him, line them up in single file, fellas. Let's get ready to go back to green flag racing. There's no reason for us to linger at this point. There's Larry Raines on the screen.
And he will be penalized to the rear of the field for jumping the last restart. He'll be penalized for one position. So that means Jody Ridley, who's been trying to get around him for the last dozen or so laps, will get the spot because of the miscue.
Indication is now you go to the tail of the field. That's what they're telling Larry
Raines. We'll watch where they position him, but that will scotch any chances that he has for an excellent finish. Raines has had some very strong runs, and then he's had some trouble in other events. Not unlike many of these drivers, there's only Mike Garvey who's completed every single lap of the season, and Daniel Keene, up until this event, had completed all but one, but he was out by lap number 12 with a mechanical failure, and that will seriously hurt his chances in the point standings.
Another driver who elected to come to the pits during this caution is Steve Christian, and he rolls back out down the pit lane as they're trying to load the Daniel Keene car. As a matter of fact, they have to shove the Daniel Keene car out of the way to allow him to come to the end of the pit lane.
Well, Keene is trying to pack his entry up so he can get a quick start out of here after the night is over. This is an event he'll surely want to forget. A winner earlier this season in the garage early, and you know, it's a racing cliche, Bill, we absolutely hate to use, but it is so true. That's racing. There is nobody who is good 100% of the time. There are too many variables.
Well, Daniel Keene loading his car up. This is the first race I can recall that he has not finished in. Every other race, he has been a finisher. Keene always a tough competitor. Whatever broke in his car was terminal. Otherwise, he'd be back out there chasing the points, realizing just how lucrative it is for the season-ending payoff.
Jeff Burkett, a driver who has Dick Anderson setting up his car. He admits that he doesn't know as much as he'd like, so he lets a veteran help him. There's Jerry Aubrey, who has spun several times this evening. Steve Christian has also had an event-filled evening. Immediately in front of him is Lonnie Vaughn, who has spent a number of moments in the pits this evening. That 21 car is Randy Holt, the red, white, and blue Valvoline entry. Next to him on the inside is Randy Fox, whose nickname is Hondo. Vince Whitmire in the 99 has gone around once today, but had no damage and is able to continue. As the field is getting the signal that in just a moment we'll be going back green. Mike Garvey, what a change in his fortunes from the first time at Lanier. If you'll recall, he and another driver got together. He was considered the culprit. In fact, he got together with Dick Anderson.
Yeah.
And race officials sent him to the rear of the field. He was able to rally back. He didn't get a top 10 finish, but he was able to finish on that all-important lead lap. Now Garvey trying to win this race for the first time. He's already got 2 victories to his credit, and the all-important restart comes up on lap number 81. And a good start once again for the Norcross, Georgia driver.
Garvey's Jeff Hamner motor comes right up to full song very quickly as he heads into the third quarter and through to fourth turn. He has found himself with a brand new car, with a previous car that only won 6 times. It's amazing how he can come up with brand new equipment. But obviously he favors new machinery, because right now he's making it perform.
Yeah, at Kenly, North Carolina, he has completely rebuilt the car, didn't like what it was doing, made some changes, and ever since he's done that, he has been the dominant driver in the series. Sitting back in the third position is John Crow, the winner here back earlier in the season. He was able to get around Gary Jones when Jones bobbled a while ago. This is a battle for position between Buckshot Jones and Dick Anderson. This is for 8th. Anderson will not win tonight's race, but he continues to work his way forward, currently 5th in the series standings, and he's trying to pick up as many as he can. He could move way up along with several other drivers because of the problems that runner-up Daniel Keene suffered earlier. And there is definitely a little rub there, and a great save by Anderson. Now, I was going to give him the save there right away, and then he headed up toward the wall, and I didn't know what the heck to say.
His car owner, Buddy Foster, is not walking around the pits. He's limping around the pits with a crutch this week after having fallen and hurting his right leg. So, near disaster being averted by Anderson.
And Ronnie Sanders, after an extended period behind the wall, comes back out on the track. He's just out there for the fun of it. He's a spectator for the final 12 laps, as Dick Anderson has been able to gather his car back up underneath him.
Yellow.
And the caution is out for a couple of cars that drifted up the banking in turn number 4, the 21X. I believe that's actually the 21P of Sammy Pegram.
Randy Holt was also involved, along with the 99. Both of those cars went round and round.
And we'll be back for the final 10 laps of this race to see if Mike Garvey can make it 3 in a row right after this. Back out, and Cope has cocked a little sideways. He'll lose a little ground to Dick Anderson as we've got 10 laps to go, with Mike Garvey still setting the pace. Mike Love gave it a shot there going through turn 2, but just couldn't get the bite he needed. John Crow sits in the 3rd spot. Kerry Jones is 4th. And Mike Garvey is going for 3 wins this year. He's the only multiple winner we've got. Of course, John Crow won the most recent stop, so Mike Garvey going for 3 wins in the last 4 races, and looks like he's in a mighty good position to do it, Bill.
I wonder if Garvey realizes that Daniel Keene's out of the competition. If in his peripheral vision he has seen that Keene has been parked since the early going.
Dick Anderson and Buckshot Jones, they've been going at this for a while with Mario Goslin right behind. We've got 7 laps to go as Mike Garvey continues to set the pace. This is a battle for position back in the 7th spot. Dick Anderson almost got it swapped ends a couple of moments ago, didn't do it, and now is trying to pick up another spot. Maybe a little bit of a nudge there, but nothing harmful by any means. Anderson, the lone dodge in the field. He's had some motor problems. He's had some tire problems. Tonight he's been fighting the race car, but he's done extremely well to move into the top 10. 5 laps to go for Mike Garvey, the McBee Construction-sponsored driver. A new paint job a few races ago. He's not a superstitious person because he's willing to switch cars on a winning streak. But boy, everything he has changed has turned up gold, as once again the battle for 5th between Darrell Shelnut and Joe Manning, and it looks like this time Shelnut has got the spot. Shelnut sitting third in the series points will surely move up into second with Daniel Keene, an early retiree tonight. Coming down, 2 laps to go for our race leader. 2 laps for Mike Garvey coming off of turn 4 as Mike Love makes a final desperate thrust toward the front. He's used all the maneuvers that he knows, but Mike Garvey has been rock solid since lap 30. It comes down to the white flag, this time by one more circuit for the driver of the number 91 entry. Garvey clean through 3 and 4, and he'll take the checkered flag for his 3rd victory of the 1995 Hooters Cup season. By leading the final 70 laps of the race, he will extend his points lead with a dominating performance tonight. Mike Love, the best of the rest, but not quite good enough tonight. A great performance by the Norcross, Georgia driver and by everybody in the top 5. We'll be back to talk to the winner in just a moment. 2 races have been dominated tonight. The first one by Alan May. The second one, the late model show, just completed by Mike Garvey, who's down trackside with our Bill Hennessy.
Everybody up in the grandstands. We're on live television tonight for Mike Garvey. Mike, you were the class of the field. Brand new race car here tonight. Performed flawlessly. You just told me that, hey, we got it together.
Well, I tell you, this Horton Motorsports crew has really worked hard. We've came to Lanier about 4 times this year, and we've ran terrible. Built a brand new car. It's a test of the team, how strong they are. Car's never been on the track before tonight, and they came here and they did a great job, and it was perfect all night long.
Who was your competition tonight? You blew by everybody.
Well, there's always competition. You know, when Mike Love's here and Gary Jones, I tell you, those guys run as good here as anybody. You don't take anything for granted. You just try to run your line every lap, not pay attention to what's behind you, hit your marks, and be consistent. That's what I did. And I had Kevin, he was on the radio saying, okay, you got a little bit of a gap there. So we just took it easy. And like I said, the car ran perfect. You know, the whole Magma Contractor Supply, Monte Carlo, the car was fantastic. I'd like to thank Hooters and everyone for coming tonight. It was just a great day for us.
You padded your point lead. Did you ever look in your peripheral vision and see that Daniel Keene was parked since the early going?
No, I sure didn't. I don't pay a lot of attention to points, to be honest with you. We try to win races, and if we can keep winning races, the points are going to take care of themselves. So we were just, we stayed focused on winning the race. That's what we came here to do, and we done it, and we're just tickled pink.
You're going to be with this car for the rest of the season, or you're going to switch cars again on us?
Well, we're in pretty good shape, and we've got 2 good cars. This is the first. We've won twice with the other car, now once with this one, so we got the best of both worlds going here.
Congratulations, Mike Garvey, 3rd win of the season here at Lanier Raceway.
And our congratulations indeed to Mike Garvey, who may not be paying attention to what other drivers are doing, but I'll tell you what, he certainly knows right now that he's extended his points lead, and I'm sure it's going to be a nice drive back up the road to where he is tonight to celebrate his 3rd victory of the 1995 Hooters Formula Cup season. Super Cup season, rather, excuse me. Now, let's give you the unofficial rundown that we have from race scoring. Of course, the winner, Mike Garvey, for the 3rd time in 1995. Second to Mike Love, the local driver, who did an excellent job and I think has earned a lot of fans outside the Lanier Raceway who already knew what kind of driver he was. Third went to John Crow, the man who won here back in May, so he's got a 1st and a 3rd to his credit at this tricky 3/8 mile track. 4th to Gary Jones in a season-best performance by him, and let's give a call to Darrell Shelnut, who got up to the 5th spot in the final rundown with a late pass of Joe Manning. Manning did a very nice job of moving, although he started on the pole by virtue of the pill draw. He did drop back a little bit early in the race and then stayed very solidly right around the 5th position all the way through the event until Shelnut finally got around him, and he finishes 6th. A very quiet race, but one that we were able to document for Buckshot Jones, who did a nice job in 7th and showed some real cool in keeping Dick Anderson to his rear throughout the contest. Anderson finished in the 8th spot, and a real call to that veteran from Florida in his Dodge. He started way back in 24th, had to go through the last chance race to make it into the field, actually in the 26th position, let me correct that, and moved all the way up 18 positions, which is not an easy thing to do, but he did just that to take the 8th spot. And if you were with us throughout the telecast, you noticed that he got that car cocked a little bit more than sideways there coming off of turn 4 and showed some real savvy in keeping the mount underneath him and stayed in that battle. Finishing in the 9th spot was Mario Goslin. Now, here's a driver that we had a chance to talk a little bit about in tonight's race. Generally a very good qualifier, but tonight started back in the 20th spot and had to work his way forward. In fact, he picked up 11 positions before the checkered flag fell, and our congratulations to that driver for a good effort. That will help him in the points as well. In fact, that will probably move him up from 4th to 3rd. You recall at the race at Orlando, he crashed out early and had his poorest finish of the season. And finishing 10th, Jimmy Cope, a man who you can't help but pull for a little bit. Even if you're not necessarily a Jimmy Cope fan, you have to respect his talent. He's had a really difficult season despite some very strong runs. He was another driver who started way back in the starting order tonight, but was able to move all the way up to the 10th position in the final rundown. So unofficially, those are your top 10 drivers in tonight's competition. Unofficially sitting 11th is Mike Harmon, the Birmingham winner. 12th to Nevin Jenkins. 13th to Larry Raines, who came back from a restart penalty to post a fairly solid finish. 14th, Mr. All-Pro Jody Ridley, who continues to find this series a real challenge. Instead of running 200 laps, running 100. Steve Allison, the rookie, finished 15th. 16th to Johnny Henderson. 17th to Sammy Pegram. And 18th unofficially to Vince Whitmire. Now, if you like what you've seen here, we invite you to join us at Five Flags Speedway in Pensacola, Florida at the end of the month. If you can't be there, join us on many of these same affiliates. You'll see the telecast of more Hooters Formula Cup and Hooters Cup late model competition, then Flemington Speedway at the end of July. Once again, that's going to be an exciting show up there. Also in August, the 411 Motors Speedway and then the USA International Speedway. That's the story from Lanier Raceway, where congratulations to Alan May and also to Mike Garvey. For Bill Hennessy and special guest Bo Barfield, I'm Mark Allen. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.